Norfolk DNA. It's been a long time coming since I sat with Councillor Adam, who I believe your ward is Port Dover or something. I've never heard of it. I've
Well,
heard
no,
it
the ward is Port. Sorry, ward is 6. It includes
six
Port
Port
Dover,
Dover.
but it's not. Doesn't exclude, you know, Dog's Nest. We don't exclude, Marburg. Like those are also part of it. So
So you when you travel all around your ward, do you ever get lost?
only in town.
Only in town. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah,
I've seen you. Um,
yeah.
so I'm pissed, and I want to get your opinion. It's been
Well,
a
you and
while.
everybody else, man.
I know, but this was brought to my attention the other day, and I didn't understand it. So of course I call my favorite counselor. Yeah, I guess probably here in the top three. And I wanted to say, what the hell's all this about? So there's a 4.5. You tell me what it is. Is it a tax on people coming in that book a room?
No,
I'm
no.
sorry, it's not law yet, or it's not been passed or anything, but there's a
Yeah.
discussion about this. So fill me in and get me so I'm not mad anymore, will you?
No, because you know what? It's honestly, I think people should be mad at the government anytime. It's your obligation as residents and as citizens to question your government always. So stay mad,
Okay.
but stay informed and mad. And that's the thing that gets me sometimes is that people are mad at not only their own imagination, but they also get mad at someone else's imagination. Way too often, somebody else thinks of something and it makes people mad. So be mad, but please be informed when you're mad. So the municipal accommodations tax is what you're calling it, or what you're referring
Oh,
to.
okay.
That's what it's called, and that's not a Norfolk idea. That's something that is a tourism area idea. So Niagara Falls has it. Many municipalities have it, and just for the record here, not just for you, Dave, but for everybody who's watching, all 3 of your viewers. Um, I don't know how many ever there.
Say hi to
4.
my mom.
Yeah, it's like, do more people get rabies every year? Do more people watch Dave's podcast? We don't know.
Well,
Um, when I explain things, I just want to be clear that I'm not defending or justifying or trying to sell it to you. I'm just explaining it so you can make your own decisions. So don't be like, you support it. Just explaining for now. So just be cool. So the municipal accommodations tax is this. The idea is that it's not a tax on the businesses. It's a business. It's a tax that the businesses charge in addition to their room fees that is collected by a destination marketing organization. And that's a real term. That's not something they're making up. They exist all over the place. It just so happens that for Norfolk right now, the county is the destination marketing organization. We will
oh,
we'll talk about the right now in a minute. But so the idea is this: it's an increase. Or not an increase. It's just a tax on the room or any overnight stay. So it would be hotels, motels. It would be bed and breakfasts that are registered,
okay.
Airbnbs, these types of things. And the idea is that it's a revenue generator to build business and support business. It doesn't go into the municipal coffers as a tax increase on businesses where it just goes into other stuff. So the idea is 50% would go into economic development, whether that's tourism promotion or whatever, but it's tourism related development in the community that it's raised in. And then the other 50% goes to the destination marketing organization to do destination marketing for the entire area that the organization represents, which in this case would be Norfolk County. So if I'm just picking a round number, if $100,000 was raised through this tax in Port Dover, let's say, 50 would go back to Port Dover to do things that would benefit that community directly. And then the other 50 would go into the destination marketing organization, and it could be just advertising, or it could be something else that's saved to do something bigger over time. So what can that 50 be used for? I just want to be clear that it wouldn't necessarily be advertising or billboards or anything like this. It's not about paying more staff to do another map or guide or all these other things that are sort of, how do you measure their effectiveness? It's not about that. It could be that if that's what the community decides it wants, but it could also be things that support tourism in town. So it could be public washrooms. It could be foot bath. It could be showers on the beach. It could be, um, in town transportation on theater days or weekends or whatever, or even just the busiest days in town. There's a Canada Day shuttle, whatever. That's maybe not the best example because the roads are closed, but you know what I'm saying? Like on those days that there's a need, we could actually invest in something that isn't just promoting tourism, but helps facilitate tourism for the community that it's raised in. So in Simcoe, same thing. If their hotels raised $100,000, I don't know. I don't want to speak for Simcoe, but I'm saying it could be something in the downtown that helps make it more appealing for tourism or business development. It could be they just grant it out and improve the panorama or promote the fair, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But so 50, well, I mean, it matters, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it would be up to the community to decide. So that's 50%. The other 50% of the total amount would go into this destination marketing organization to do things on a county-wide scale. So
Okay.
again, not defending it or advocating it or trying to sell it to you. I'm explaining to you what it is, and then we can sort of debate on the merits of it. But that in a nutshell is the concept.
Well, thank you for explaining that, breaking it down to me.
Yeah.
And being a long-term business person in Norfolk County, I'm just going to call bullshit and say no.
Okay. No, fair enough.
I think
You're not the only one.
but I think as a business, we've been taken to task so much in the past by different forms of Norfolk government, and had all these promises in years gone by, and it just doesn't smell right, and it doesn't set right with me. I don't want to see another 4.5%. I think a lot of businesses are struggling at this point.
Yep.
And why do we, now we're collecting more tax for you. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Sure.
Tell your guys at economic development to think of some way of making us money, not taking our money, because I think that's where a lot of businesses are tired of it. And
Yep.
I get the long-term plan, which I really appreciate because you've always had that vision to look down the road, not short-term, more long-term. And I understand there is some benefits in the long-term plan, but maybe take this back to the drawing board and tell your staff, like, unless they're a business owner, I don't want to hear from them. I really don't, because I'm tired of this, oh, we'll just get 4% more. And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. And
Sure.
I don't want you to do my marketing for me. Leave that to me. I've seen what you guys do. It doesn't work. I'll take my own shot at doing it my way. And I think maybe that respect needs to be a little more to the business people in Norfolk County, in Port Dover especially, because a lot of these families have worked their asses off for a long time to make money, to make those businesses profitable. And now when it's struggling, you're, not necessarily struggling, but when things are a little harder, you're saying, hey, why not give us 4% more? And I just don't, it doesn't fly with me at all. And I don't think I think maybe you guys need to you want to do all these things, it's great, but maybe have the businesses involved to the point where they're saying, well, I think this is maybe the way you guys need to look at it, because it seems like this is already something that businesses are going to take time of their day to go either fight for or fight against. The time away from their own business. So, and your background too, being in business, and it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And I think probably because I think maybe the younger folks that are coming through in business will see a different light on it. But as an old timer, I'm kind of like, yeah, I don't think so. Enough of this game that you guys call, marketing or whatever you're trying to sell it as. And maybe just listen. I know you will, because that's one of your strengths. Listen to what the businesses are telling you. If they say no, or if they have a better alternative, remember, the people that work in economic development work for the people of Norfolk County. They need to start listening to what they're saying.
And I think
that's my rant. Thanks for doing this today, Adam.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. So you just have this podcast, you can cuss out your guests, eh? That's good. Good way to do it.
Well,
you want to be on my podcast to hear what I have to say? Like, it's no, it's good.
You want to hear me rant?
No, but you're right. I mean, you mentioned about past government and the impact it's had on Norfolk County businesses, and I don't deny it, but let's not forget that it's also past bureaucracy that has had a major impact on Norfolk County businesses, right? So what I will say in that regard is that this is a different, and again, not defending, I just want you to know these things. So I'm not trying to sell you. This is a different staff, and this is a different government, and this is a different approach. And so I can say that confidently. That's not just political nonsense. And I'll tell you how it's different and why it's different. The difference in government is, I don't recall, and I could be wrong, I don't recall there being a councillor off the top of my head that worked in tourism before they were on council. And there may be one, and people are going to go, what about that guy?
Well,
Sure,
Harold
maybe.
Snyder,
But
right, when he was mayor.
no, I'm talking about Norfolk County Council.
I know, but I'm going way back.
Okay, well, you're going way back, but that's Woodhouse, that's Port Dover. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about since Norfolk County existed. And so you're
But
right. I
does
do
it
have that.
exist? Does it exist really? Let's
Well,
be honest.
that one's for the philosophers. Today, we're talking about it. So, no, but what I'm saying is, and I'm not saying it's all about me, but what I'm saying is I do have that voice where I have been in business in Port Dover for a long time. I've worked in tourism in Port Dover specifically, and in Norfolk County wide for a long time. I was on the Board of Trade for a long time and president. So, and you know as well as I did that I fought many a battle on behalf of the Board of Trade and on businesses. So that's different. And so, but I mean, but the presence of Alan Duthie is also different, right? Where
Yeah,
he's been
yeah,
involved with the fair, he's
yeah.
involved in media and marketing and advertising in Norfolk. So I think that there's a different, and it's not up to us. I'm not saying it's only us, but I'm saying that is a different voice
Mindset.
that people can hear and go to that may not have been as vocal. If they were on council, wasn't as vocal. So that's one thing, this difference in government. The difference in approach is we aren't just here to sell ads and to sell a guide and to sell a map and to buy it and do these other things and make sure that the people that pay us a membership and pay us an ad get benefit. That's not what we're doing any longer. That doesn't exist any longer. And so the focus on economic development, the department is, and this was direction of council. This is direction of council, and councilor speaking up and saying this is not working at the beginning of this term, is to focus on business retention, expansion, and attraction. Okay, so when we tell staff to do that, we don't tell them to market. I mean, there's still an element of that. There's still an app and all these things that they do, but the focus is not that. Right. Whereas before, the promotion was sort of the driving force in a lot of cases. Now the promotion is in service of retention, expansion, and attraction. So it's a different strategy and a different approach. So what we're doing with this municipal accommodations tax, the theory I think behind it is, or the thesis or whatever you want to call it is, can we help businesses expand? Can we help them grow? Can we bring more people in without costing Norfolk County taxpayers more money? And so it's increasing the budget for economic development without passing that cost on to residents and businesses and people that are already paying taxes here, by passing that tax on to people who are enjoying tourism amenities. So again, not trying to sell you, but that's the rationale. So when we talk about it, we have to talk, we don't have to, I would like to talk about it through that lens, because that's the strategy. It's not just about, creating more taxes for its own sake. So those things are a little bit different. And then so the difference in staff is, again, our staff isn't focused on promotion and marketing. They have expertise in the retention, expansion, development, attracting industry, and these other things. So
What expertise do they have? Like, does
I don't have
somebody
the
have
resumes in front of me, but when we hired, that was part of the interview, is how do you do this vision of council? So their resumes don't come to me, so I don't know their expertise is, but when they are hired, that was by senior staff. That's the direction they were given. So I guess
So you're
I'm
assuming.
I am assuming that senior staff is following the direction that council gives them, because senior staff really has no reason not to. Like, there's no agenda here. If they don't do what we're asking them to do, it's on them. So if for no other reason than to avoid us, avoid having to hear from council, they are doing what we asked them to do, I'm sure of it, or reasonably sure of it. So, but I do know that, that the economic development director we have now has had some success in other areas with this, with his approach to engaging business and doing the research he's doing. He's certainly involved in other economic development organizations on his own time as part of his professional development, his leadership. So it's not like we only have that one view where we have a person out there selling ads and trying to bring that. To me was picking the pockets of businesses more, and sort of saying, if you don't pay more money into us on top of your taxes, you don't get the benefit. Whereas this is, maybe we don't need to charge residents and businesses here. Maybe we can find a way to get visitors to pay to build our economic development portfolio here in Norfolk. And again, not a sales job. That's just the explanation that I've got, which is like, I'm not sold on this either. If it's going to harm businesses and businesses feel like that it's not sustainable and they need to raise their own rates this year and to stay in business and other things, and this tax on top of that increase is not doable, then yeah, then it's not going to get my support. And the part of this is that I just want to tell you is that this isn't something that's done or being done. All we've seen so far is a suggestion from staff to say, here's an opportunity that may be available, and we would like council's direction. Just hold on. We'd like council's direction and essentially permission to explore this further. And that's all we've done. We've given them a direction to explore it further.
And I think it's a waste of time. I think it's
fair enough.
Your staff shouldn't be wasting their time trying to figure out ways to get more money out of businesses. Tell you what,
no, it's not out of the businesses.
Every storefront, out of the visitors. Every storefront, you tell Norfolk County, I'll tell you what, the storefronts will let you put their logo, your logo, Norfolk County logo, in their window and only charge you $50 a month. And at the end of the year, if my numbers grow, I'll give you back half that money. How's that? Like, that's kind of what it feels like. You know what I mean? Like, and guess what you're going to say? No, we don't do that. Well, that's the point of it. You're not meeting them anywhere close to helping them. You're just saying, give us more and we're going to make it better for you. And there's no guarantees. So
in the short term, I see your point of view that yes, we're asking I'm not saying me, but the county itself, whatever, right, would be asking them to take on this role of collecting this revenue. That is true in the short term, 100%. That's a pain and no argument.
They don't need
that said, no, you're right. But that said, the question in front of businesses, and again, I want to be clear that this is going to be dictated by, do the businesses like this idea, yes or no? It's not like we're going to hammer them down and say, you must. It's not that. Right now, it's a conversation and it's a question. And some businesses, I will tell you, have said, absolutely not. Some have said, I'm not sure, tell me more. Some have said, absolutely not, but tell me more. And when you tell them more, they go, okay, now I'm not sure, but I'm willing to have the conversation. So right now, honestly, and I'm telling you this honestly, right now it is a conversation with the businesses. There's a meeting next Wednesday where accommodation businesses they're invited to, and I'm not saying supposed to go, but if they're interested and want to say, they have an opportunity to have a say. And I've sort of griped my way into that, and not just my way. I've griped.
Well, you're in that meeting, correct? Are you not?
I am in that meeting now. Yes, and
what
other
councillors now. What do you mean by that? Weren't
you
before? So
initially, when it was conceived, it wasn't conceived to be a workshop that included councillors. It wasn't that they were trying to no. Listen, it wasn't they're trying to exclude us. It was envisioned as an opportunity to engage with businesses. And so when it came to me, I wrote back and said, I would like to, even if I can't participate, to be there. I would like to observe. And so they were like, well, okay, let's look at that. So it wasn't, I don't want to give the sense that there was resistance or trying to keep council out. All I'm saying is initially, it was not designed that way. And because of the points I made about why it would be advantageous to at least have me and also other councillors, if they want to, there as an observer, that accommodation has been met. So I will be in that meeting. And the reason I'm interested in that meeting is because I want to hear what the businesses are saying in real time, not read a report. And it's not that I don't trust staff. It's not that I don't trust staff to make an accurate report. It's just that sometimes the nuances get missed.
Right.
Or it's also possible that businesses remember it a different way, or staff remembers it a different way. That's possible. And that happens in any thing where people tell you a story about what happens. It's not specific to county staff. It's anybody remembers things differently.
Yeah.
Right. If you have 100 people that witness a car accident, you can have 100 different stories of what happened. Is all I'm saying. And everybody, police will tell you that. And then the other part of why I want to be there is that just to make sure that even if the majority of the people in attendance say something, and there's 3 people that have a very strong feeling against, that strong feeling against doesn't get missed when the report accurately says the majority said this. I do think that sometimes that happens where
it does all the time, for sure.
Right. So you might have one business that is against it, but that one business has 30 rooms.
Right.
Well, that's a lot different than 30 Airbnbs telling you, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not
I
that
do.
one's more valuable than the other, but it is different. And
It's the
so,
weight of the conversation that you need
right,
to have.
right. And so that's why I sort of went back and forth a couple of times with the staff that's coordinating and saying, it's not that it's, again, and the other problem is that in Norfolk County, well, probably everywhere, but I am here in Norfolk County, so I notice it here, is that there is a massive, massive problem with misinformation and people exploiting the fact that a large number of residents don't know how things work or don't understand the nuances or don't understand the details. And I'm not trying to be insulting when I say this. It's not that they don't understand and it's bad. It's they don't understand because they're not expected to. This is not their day to day. It's not their business. It's not their level of expertise. So they don't understand it in the same way that I don't understand how to put a rocket in space. Is it bad that I don't understand? No, it's just not my business. You know what I'm saying?
Dude,
So it's
it's your
it's
job.
that.
It's your
Right.
job.
And so that's it. So it's not that when they don't understand it's boo, but when they see when they're skeptical and they see somebody else who they believe may be an authority or a trusted figure that just constantly spreads nonsense, which is happening more and more.
Yep.
Another reason I want to be in that meeting, and one of the reasons I told staff that I want to be there, is to preemptively be able to stop that,
Right.
or at least have the tools. I mean, let's be honest, I'm not going to be able to stop it, but I have the tools to say, I was there, that's not what happened, or that I was there and that's not what was said. It's a
Well,
lot different.
you were there, and that was your perception of what happened, right?
Okay, fair enough. But if somebody said something that,
I'm just
yeah, no, but
messing
I
with
mean,
you.
okay, fair enough. You're right. There's a perception, but if somebody literally didn't say that Norfolk County is going to take over all the hotels, and that's the rumor that's being spread or whatever, I can say, no one ever said that we're trying to take over all the hotels. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is that, well, how do you know? Well, I was there, and I can tell you that nobody from economic development said we're going to take over your hotel. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is that those broad strokes? That's not a matter of perception, right?
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
And so that's
Well,
what I'm trying to get at.
my next gripe, because you're going to go on about this forever. I know you. Is
You asked the question, man.
yeah, and you gave an A1 answer. If this wasn't a short podcast, we'd stay for hours anyway.
Our
Um,
podcasts are never short, man.
they never
You
have
know
been,
what?
have they?
Here's the thing. If people don't like what we're talking about, they skip it. Go to the
I
next one.
know they just come back and they leave the room. Like, well, all right, we'll do a washroom break. Go. Me and I will talk about other things. Other things. Come back in a minute. We'll get going. But my next gripe is first thing I thought about when I read this was the business license. Remember when that came out? Do you remember those days way back when? And you and I were like, "Oh, what's
Yeah,
this?"
I
And
fought it
then
hard.
I remember you and I talked to businesses and said, and they were like, "This is just going to go up. Next year it'll be
Yeah,
more and more and more."
absolutely.
Where is that today? I'm just curious. How much is that
Well, it's
today?
going
What
up
it
more
was?
and more and
30,
more.
yeah, what was it? $30 when it started per
Oh, it was
year?
like 15, I think, or 10 or something.
What
Yeah.
is it now? I'm just curious.
Well, the last one was 150. Yeah.
Yeah, come on, dude. That's
Well,
that's the point of it right there. So who's to say it's 4.5 and in 3 years you're like, we need 8.5 because we want to do this now, right? Like,
well,
no,
and
no.
that's, yeah, and sure, and that is why you need, not you, people in Norfolk, whatever, you need counselors that are informed and connected to residents and businesses and people who um, are involved in these things that can actually I don't know how to say it. I don't want to say it in a way that's like disparaging, but one of the things that I think is a value to what I do is that I am where the blood and guts are always. I'm not waiting for people to call. I'm not waiting for people to walk up to me and say, "Hey, here's a problem." I'm not sitting at the bar or sitting at the coffee shop waiting. I'm out there. So if this is happening, I go and bang on the doors and say, "What do you think?" And so that's a little bit different. And maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong in doing that, but that is how I do it. So when businesses are affected or going to be impacted by people, they're talking to me because they know that I'm interested. Like I go to board of trade meetings. I go to meetings where people are talking about projects and things that they want to get done. And so I'm involved. So anyways, I guess where I'm going with that is that if the rate is ever proposed to increase and businesses don't want it, you need to tell us. And I believe that the businesses will have control over this, because this is not something that the county is saying you must or you will do this. That was what the licenses were, right? Business had no input in that decision. However, the other hand, but on the other hand, this is something where it's, do you want to do this and do you see the benefit? So if in Port Dover, they come to the accommodation and the accommodations say absolutely not, then that is a hill I will die on. I can't promise you an outcome, because 5 other councillors might decide that even though they don't have accommodations or don't have many accommodations, that they want that money. I can't stop that. But if businesses say no, but I'm saying it's possible.
Right.
So
Oh, no.
if businesses do say, actually, you know what, we do see a benefit, and the fact that, yeah, this is a pain for us today, but if you're telling me that after 1 year or 2 years or 5 years, we might have enough to buy a bathroom, or like a public washroom, we might have enough to buy a shower on the beach, we might have enough to buy a piece of waterfront property, whatever it is that will benefit their businesses in the longer term in a grander scale, then they might be into it. And if they see that benefit for their businesses moving forward or their community moving forward, and they say, yeah, let's do it, then that's where we'll head. So I believe that this is, and of course there's gonna be skeptics going, yeah, you say that now. No, I'm telling you, like, if this ever was not in the business's control or have their strong input, then no, I would not support it. So it's going to be but it's also up to the businesses at the same time to stay involved and to tell us things also. So to be angry off to the side and tell us, well, we had this problem for 6 months and you didn't do anything. Oh, and you're telling me now, like, so that's part of it too. It's incumbent on them to make it a two-way conversation, right? So, and I do believe, I'm quite confident that I do have a two-way conversation with businesses in my community. Maybe not every single one, but the ones that have wanted. I mean, some people just don't want to talk to me. Some people are just committed to being angry or not trusting people, and that's okay. But the ones that are trying to be engaged and trying to work together, I have a very good, I think, relationship with them. So, anyways, that's that, and there's a bigger part of that too that I said for now earlier. And if you want to go into the development corporation, we can. If you have other questions about the tax, we can stay there.
Unfortunately, I have to pay you a compliment and say that I do appreciate, because whenever I read your pieces online, you do put it out there. You do sort the bullshit out and you lay it out. And I do appreciate that. I can't believe that. First of all, I can't believe you're a counselor but I do appreciate
what again?
You turned out better than I thought you were gonna. I got to be honest with you. So I'm happy for you.
You actually like me. Why do you say that? That's like kind of borderline offensive.
Well, I think because we always had these great conversations way back in the day, and you would be devil's advocate every time. It just pissed me off, and it was always fun. And the worst part was I'd always walk away and learn something from you, and I'm like, that pastor, But I always appreciated that your knowledge of what you knew locally and how you sort of integrated yourself in. And when you and I would do podcasts and talk to counselors, man, some of the questions we try and throw at them, right? They just didn't answer. So I always appreciate that you would answer, as this role that you're in now, you do answer those questions. And one other thing I do want to get to is Ottawa.
Can I say something about that? Can I say something about that real quick?
It's my podcast, not yours.
And here's what I want to say about that real quick, because I'm ignoring you. Is that I don't, maybe it's not the different. I can't speak for anybody else, but I will tell you my point of view on this. And this is the truth. My job is to make the best decisions I possibly can, no matter what, whether I'm popular or not. My job is not to get reelected. And so that's the thing. I do want to get reelected. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is I don't approach this as, I better make a decision that will make me popular and get votes. And my hope is that people that don't like what I'm doing, my hope is always that you might be mad at me now, but maybe later you won't be.
Right.
But even if you are still mad later, at least I didn't lie to you. And maybe that's enough to keep your vote. Is that even if I tell you things or do things that you don't agree with, at least I didn't, pump your tires or whatever and tell you, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and this, knowing full well that it's going to be voted against at council. So I'm going to go in there and vote the wrong way, or the way that I know is not going to come out, just so I'm popular. Like, how do you elect a guy like that?
Okay, I want to sort of this little bit of part two here. I want to talk a little bit about the Ottawa experience. I think it was last week or the week before. You were
Yeah.
down there and attended a bunch of municipal meetings. I noticed that Alan got stuck. The mayor couldn't make it, so they left you in charge. What the hell were they thinking?
You know what I love about your podcast is the seamless transition.
Well, we're just back from a washroom break, and we thought we'd
Yeah, sure. No. So, no one left me in charge. I wouldn't say that. It's just when you're the only person that makes it, it kind of just falls to me. So I just want to be clear that there was no designation. It was just like, oh, okay, I
Nobody
guess it's me.
anointed you?
No, I just decided that, okay, I gotta, leadership falls to you sometimes and you just got to do it. It's not like, I seek it out or whatever. It's just, okay, I'm the guy. So what am I going to say? Oh, I can't do it. No, I got to go do it. So let's go.
So, do you hit any good restaurants or bars? Were you out all night? Were you out partying?
No. Well, I mean, no. I can't remember. Al, the CAO, and I went to a restaurant one night, but it was just like a outdoor patio thing. I had a tuna salad. Like it wasn't like a fancy restaurant. The rest of the meals we had were like Starbucks breakfast, and we had and there was a.
I sent you a great location. You didn't.
Well, I know, but we didn't have time, and
it was right there. You were downtown.
Don't want to spend any money. Well, I don't want to spend any money either. No, we had one lunch at the food court. There's a mall attached. What?
At the Whole Foods?
No, there was a what was it called? Poulet Rouge or something. It's just like a mall food court, like barbecue chicken thing.
Oh,
it was like
I know where you were.
Like,
yeah, I know where you were.
I think we went to Chipotle once. That was what we had for food. It was just cheap.
Did you learn anything? Did you take our taxpayers' money and learn something?
I did. I did learn. What do you want me to say as far as what I learned? Like, I don't know what you're asking me.
Well, I mean, what was the highlight for you? What did you take away from it that's going to help Norfolk?
Oh, okay. So overall, one of the things that was I don't know how to say this. I'm going to get some heat for saying this, but also it's the truth. So who cares? Is that Norfolk we are on the radar of the ministry on the ministries now, which is great. And not all, but some, the ones we need to be, which is really great.
Is this provincial or federally? What are you talking?
Oh, provincial. This is all provincial. Okay. So AMO is the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. So the process is that the representatives from a municipality can be councillors or staff, senior staff, that you go and you get an opportunity. You put in for all the ministers you want to meet with. You don't get them all necessarily, but you get appointed to these time slots, and you get 15 minutes to tell the minister about your municipal needs, and related to their ministry. So this is not an ideological sort of political, like, we need to do this and you need to stop the thing, and like, it's not rhetoric. It's not like that. You have 15 minutes to say, look, we really need this in order, and the overall thing is, how do we provide better services to residents? Because that's our job as a municipality, right? We're in the providing services to residents business. So whatever that issue is that goes to that ministry, that's what you have 15 minutes to say, look, this is what we're doing. This is what we're trying to do. This is what we can do better. This is how we can use your help. Or if you're not doing this now, would you consider doing this? Or, and in the time you really talk about policy change as if it would be in the vein of, how do we provide better service? So if you guys were to change this and this, we could do these two things, whatever. That's the idea of AMO. So it's really quick. The ministers, of course, see a ton of people. And so the idea is to sort of make your points strong, that are informed, but also somewhat memorably, and hope that something comes from it. So it's not just the minister that you meet with. They have a staff. They have several staff with them. It was anywhere from 3 to, I think, as many as 8.
Is it an equal conversation? It sounds like you're just going there begging.
No, it is an equal conversation in some cases. So there's different conversations. I'll be like in complete transparency or whatever. There's some where we have a very, very specific need, and that's that's more of a two-way conversation, because the ministers and their staff are informed. Like, we tell them what we're coming in for ahead of time, right? It's not like we just show up cold.
Okay.
So we have a binder. I don't have it handy, or so I'd show you, but a binder is about like this, and it has all of our notes and what we've sent, so we can refer to it and make notes on the things that we talk about.
Okay.
And so they already know what we're coming for, and so they've already, presumably their aides have done some research and some planning, so they have questions. The other one, sometimes it's more like they know why you're coming, and it's sort of higher level or like wider views type stuff. It's not as specific to a specific, like it's not a
Yeah.
specific need. Okay. And then those ones are like, okay, like they want to know what you're thinking and why you think it would be beneficial to make this higher level change. And some of those are better than others. And then there's other ones where you sort of, I don't want to sound like we're ungrateful, because anytime you have this FaceTime, it's great, but they're not as pressing of an issue for Norfolk County right now. But you still take that, because every ministry
It's a
oversees
secondary.
something.
Yeah.
No, but they all oversee something that we're affected by.
Right. Okay.
And so you still want to have your chance to say, these are our challenges. And even if it's not like front of mind right this second,
Right.
here are some things that affect us and probably affect other small municipalities. And if you're hearing the same thing from small municipalities, it might be something like those kinds of conversations where they're not as valuable today, but you're laying that groundwork for tomorrow. Because even if we solved all of our today problems, then the tomorrow problems become today problems, and the next year problems become tomorrow problems.
So it's like a priority, like kind of like the gas well situation, right? Sort of
Yeah. So
going in,
to give you a
looking at
sense
that.
of it, yeah. So I mean, our top priorities is gas wells, water, like the water infrastructure, some development issues related to agricultural land and these types of things. Those are the ones that are pressing today. And then you get into the ones that are, important but not emergencies. So we talked to the Ministry of Finance about, wouldn't it be great if you guys gave municipalities back 1% of the income tax, or 1% of, different ways of funding municipal needs, rather than making us apply for grants all the time. Like those kinds of things where that's higher level, but
I
it's
gotcha.
not going to get solved today, but it's important. And that was actually one of the ones I liked the best, because I'm sure that it was the deputy minister that we met with, not the minister. And he was he wasn't dismissive. I don't want to say that, but he was more like, yeah, I've heard this a million times. And Al even said to that me before going into that, he's probably heard this a million times. We've asked him for it before, so don't be, surprised. And I said, okay. But he said, okay, so what's your plan? In a sort of a, and I said, well, the plan would be to spend it on municipal needs, that the province determines our municipal needs. Well, how do we require you to do that? How do we know you're not just going to cave to the demands of your residents now that you have this money, and buckle and do these wants and not do the needs? And I said, well, make it like development charges, where when we collect development charges, we're only allowed to use them to certain things related to development. So if you give us municipal priority funding, you determine the municipal priorities as the province. So we have to use it for that thing. And he kind of was like, yeah, all right. Like that at least made sense. So I'm not saying I solved it,
Right.
but it was better than just going in there saying, give us money. We have no plan. And so that changed the tone a little bit. Like he was a little bit, okay, you guys aren't just, it was better.
Yeah.
It was better after that. And they made notes. So, I mean, those are the kinds of things where you make this small step. And then there's other ones where, we really didn't.
So if you got the 1%, you don't need the 4.5 taxation
No.
accommodations.
That's funny you say that. No.
We solved that right there. You're not taking it out of my pocket. Take it out of everybody else's.
No, because economic development is not a core service. So that wouldn't apply for this funding. What I'm talking about is roads, sewers, water.
I was just trying to save the businesses some money, buddy. Sorry.
This won't cost businesses any money, bro.
It does, because if those businesses lose business because they don't return, because another 4.5% is taxed on, then they're going to go, what the hell am I doing here? And plus, then they can't even add their cost of living in there, right? But anyway, back to Ottawa. Back to Ottawa with Adam.
Yeah, back to Ottawa. So anyway, so the priorities that were number one was the gas wells. Like that was a 1A, B, or C, or whatever. That was maybe 1A. And that one was great, actually, because the situation is awful, but the meeting was tremendous, because based on the strength of the most recent study that was done by the firm that we brought in to do it, that said, capping is, I'm super paraphrasing, but capping is not the solution. this is going to have to be a provincial, approach. Norfolk County can't cap this, blah, 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 blah. And by the way, this is the worst of its kind, and these other things. So our staff, Norfolk County staff, started making inroads with the Municipal of Natural Resources staff right away. And so that was before we were there in a couple weeks window to do this.
Yep.
And so by the time we got there, we were going to MNR to ask them to lead a multi-ministerial approach that included the Minister of Health and Minister of Environment to please come up with a solution. As we were going, or maybe an hour and a half before we go in, we get a message from our staff saying, hey, we've actually already crossed this bridge with staff and they're ready to go. So the multi-ministerial meeting so we kind of knew going in that this was going to be a little bit more positive than us just saying, please help us. And so they were ready. That minister, it was Mike Harris, was ready. His staff was ready with all kinds of information. And so as soon as Al started talking, he said, you know what, in a very, very friendly way, like he wasn't cutting him off. He's like, listen, I'm going to just interrupt you here because we have many things to tell you and you don't have to even make your pitch. And they just told us what it was. And it was, we are going to provide you with staff support. We're going to provide you with financial support. We're going to do all these things. We're going to lead this. Yeah, we're going to lead. They didn't say what or how much or what it's going to look like. They just said, we are aware, staff's done a great job, blah, 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 blah. And they started talking about how communication was important. And then that's where I made the ask of, on that note, will you help our communication staff with the messaging? Will you help us with the strategy? Will you engage with us so that we don't, leave something to be desired that you would have liked to see? So yes, they committed that also, that they're going to provide resources and support to our communications department to help get this done properly-ish, as properly as possible.
Was our MPP involved in this?
Yeah. So in that meeting, yes, I did invite MPP Brady, Bobby Ann, whatever. I don't know how to address her when I see her, it's Bobby Ann, how's it going? But I don't know, in an official capacity. MPP Brady was well, I don't know, I was in that. Yeah, I invited her in because as soon as it was explained that this was going to be more of a provincial approach, still involving the municipality, than a municipal approach and a municipal thing. Yeah, that makes sense, to make sure everybody's on the same page and just to get everybody, like I said, that we don't.
So there's cohesiveness, right?
Yeah, we don't have mixed messaging. We don't have, or a misunderstanding of priorities when in fact we are working at the same priority. We just don't know it. Like those kinds of things. It was about, look, we should just do this together and come in and get all our birds stoned at once, as they say. So, and with her there, I don't want to speak for her or anything like that. I'm not trying to tell you what her experience was, but for an example where we sort of found a little bit of synergy there was when I asked about the communications thing, and they said, yes, we will help. Bobby Ann jumped in and said, actually, can you send that to my office as well? Of course. So now we've got the MPP's office, Norfolk County Council, and our communications staff and ministry staff all going to be on the same page as far as how this project is communicated and how the progress is. And that's valuable to residents so that there's no missed messages or cross messaging or anything like that. So it was my, I guess, decision to make, and that's what I did.
I'm happy to hear that your staff obviously put the work in on this as well. And when you walked into that meeting, they already knew and they were totally prepared. That's really good news to hear. Because this has been a big issue. I know I did podcasts with Bobby about this a year ago, 2 years ago, probably. And it's just interesting to see where this is going and how, it's really nice to hear that something might get done here, right? That there's hope now.
Well, I mean, I can't promise you what will get done because I honestly don't know. I agree. This is not my area of expertise. I don't know anything about the technical
the conversation is there.
But I will say is that the MNR has committed to not what will get done, but that something will get done. That is the commitment that we have. And so what that something ends up being is going to be way beyond me, but the commitment is there. So I would say, again, I don't know what Bobby Ann's takeaway is. I can't, she seemed pleased or relieved or whatever. I don't know what the emotion is.
I'll send you the podcast next week. We do a podcast next week. So.
But what I will say is when I left when I talked to Al afterwards, both of us were just whoa, holy, that was we would have been really happy with a commitment to do that multi-ministerial meeting led by MNR that kept us in the loop.
Right.
But to leave that meeting hearing that, we're already on it and we've already taken several, how many ever steps down the road, and you are going to get this reinforcement and these resources. We're just like, holy Lord. But again, that does speak a lot to the quality of certainly M&R staff and their willingness to work with Norfolk County, but also our staff being on the ball right away. And as soon as we had that that report and had that support from the people that know, we were like, yo, you need to do this, and this is why it's a crucially important thing.
Yeah, it's nice to hear that. To be honest with you, it's nice to hear that something's going in the right direction. That's a problem that needs to be resolved. It's been around for a long time too, so it's good to see that there's potential there. Anything else from the Ottawa before we wrap up? Anything else you want to share? I mean, you've talked about what you ate. You talked about the tuna salad. A little bit about the wells.
You asked me if I went to any restaurant.
I mean,
no. So you asked me about what
Hey, what about the flight? I heard you were going to fly over. Did you fly? Were you on time?
No. My flight was canceled.
Was it Air Canada?
No, it wasn't.
No? Okay. Just kidding.
My flight was canceled as I was in line to check my bags. The phone dings, and I'm like I'm even not the next person in line, but like 2 or 3 from the front, eh? And thank goodness it was canceled then, because if I had checked my bags.
Did they not know who you were?
No, they don't. Well, they did, I think, was what it was. No, and honestly, this is funny, because people are like, oh, you should have had a backup plan. Like I did. It was to drive. Like was I honestly supposed to book
6-hour drive?
Like, assuming that these flights that don't existed, that there's 10 flights all leaving at the same time from Toronto. And also I wasn't at Pearson. I was at the Billy Bishop, right? So it's a small airport, and I'm on Porter Air. Okay. And I said, oh, damn. Like, I was like, oh, I'm canceled. And the guy, he was like, I don't know if he was a security guard or what his actual title is, but he was the guy just kind of there. He's like, oh man. He's like, yeah, that sucks. And he said, Air Canada. I said, no, Porter. He goes, really? Porter never cancels.
Wow.
I'm like, well, great. And then you look up at the board, and every other Porter flight is like on time, early. You're like, oh, great. So I tried to hop onto an Air Canada.
Did it turn into planes, trains, and automobiles? That's what I want to know.
No. I tried to hop onto an Air Canada, and once it clicks, I think it was like half an hour or whatever. Once it clicks over to like a certain amount of time, you can no longer board. And I was in the process of registering for that flight, and it's like, oh, it's 10 o'clock. You're done. Like, I guess I'm driving. So yeah, I drove. So anyways, no, what else I learned there, and this is what I was saying earlier, might get me in some trouble with some people because they don't want to hear it, but it's also a fact, so I gotta say it, is the province is aware of us, but we as a county are well behind being able to benefit from where the province is in terms of their priorities and their funding and what's available. And so that, I mean, you kind of know it. Why
are we well behind? What do you mean by that? I don't understand.
Well, just in terms of having plans in place, or even systems to deliver services in place.
So how far back does this go? Is this a problem that should have been addressed 20 years ago? Like, what are you talking in timeframes?
Well, I mean, it depends on what you mean by should have. Like, that's a hard thing. I can't say what should have happened, but what I can tell you is, like when we go, like, for example, one of the things we had was the Ministry of Sport. Okay, so we go there. We talk
Don't
about
get me started. Are you sure you want to go down this road with me?
Is that their priorities right now are on the hub priorities and multi-use facilities. Okay?
Right.
And so, so I'm just saying, so our community is in nowhere close to being able to benefit from that. And in fairness, people want their small town facilities. So to go to the Ministry of Sport and say, it would be really great if there is funding support available for small town arenas, because we have, more than one, and we have all these separate this and separate that. And we go, we really need support because they're really important to our communities. They go, we understand they're important to your communities, but those aren't our priorities right now. Okay. And like, so what do you do about that? Like, there's not a huge amount you can do. So their advice is, well, keep applying for grants and maybe something will come up. Like, yeah, we were going to do that anyway, but that's all they can say. So that's what I kind of mean by that.
Right.
And so when you hear about things like, okay, well, we say to them, we need water. Well, we're so far behind on our water capacity, and we have so many maintenance and repairs and replacement needs.
Why do we keep building? Why do you guys keep allowing?
Keep allowing what?
Building. Why are we keep expanding? Why is that if there's no water?
Are you talking development now?
Yeah.
Oh,
like
okay.
I'm cross-referencing there because I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So why aren't we? Is there, Like you hear a lot of new subdivisions going up, but you see a lot of growth, but we don't have the water supply. You and
No,
I,
no, it's not.
we had this debate, remember, back with
Yeah,
the former
I
mayor.
don't remember. I don't remember, but
Yeah, we did a podcast
there's
on it.
I
Mm,
believe you. I just don't remember it. So there's several answers to that question. One is I'm not saying we don't have water allocation for those developments. We may have
okay,
allocation, but what I'm saying is it's not as efficient as it could be, or
okay, got it.
there's still leaks in
Work
the
to be done.
system, right, where we're leaking out a percentage of our treated water that causes problems, or there are
I
things that
understand.
are on track to be replaced that should have been replaced many years ago, decade, whatever it is. That so basically what it is right now in Norfolk County across the board, in the broadest of strokes, is that there are many things that are capital related,
Yeah,
buildings, water, other sort of amenities that were not repaired on a schedule. And not only were they not repaired on the schedule, the money that was set aside to repair them was used other places. And so now we're in a system where residents today, through their taxes or their water bills, which are not related, you are essentially having to pay, we are essentially having to pay right now to replace everything that's broken and has been broken for a long time, that is no longer put offable. We also have to pay for everything that needs to be fixed right now on schedule. And we also need to put money away for the future all at once. And
yeah,
that's why you're seeing these costs go up. Whereas if things had been repaired on schedule, and if money had been put in reserves and used for those repairs over time, we wouldn't be facing that three cost attack, whatever you want to call it. That's not the best way to put it, but that's essentially what you're paying now as residents of Norfolk County. And so when I say that we're behind, it's not just that our buildings, like we're nowhere near being able to receive um, funding for those things because they're not even in a state where that we can maintain like those types of things, right? Or like
okay,
the water. So we can't, and so why do we keep developing? We keep developing. It's not even like, anyways, the development goes forward because of partially because of our inefficient water system that costs an arm and a leg because it's separate plants doing separate communities. And that was why there was that push for the interurban. Was the idea was to get on one system and make it more efficient, right? At a huge cost, but that was the idea, is that over time it would be better. So now we have to repair, anyways, blah 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 blah. Every time you develop, essentially what you're doing is you're creating more shares of that water debt,
gotcha.
basically.
Yeah,
So and people can like that or not
spreading the
like that,
cost around.
but that's part of it, right? So if we add 500 or whatever it is new water bills, that's 500 shares that current residents don't have to pay for,
Gotcha.
right? And so, yeah, and people say, well, yeah, but there's more costs available in that system. Yeah, that's true. That's what development charges are for. But even so, they're still taking a piece of that water debt, which is still larger over time than that additional investment in making sure that they have water. So
Gotcha.
it's an overtime thing, and then same thing with the taxes, right? And the same thing with the development charges. So development charges, yes, they're used for things that are related to development, but those things that are related to development are also things that everyone can use. So we just did this exercise it's not an exercise, I don't know what to call it, resolution at council, where staff was able to take a bunch of money out of tax bills or what, I can't remember what it was. It doesn't matter. But the idea was, I mean, it matters, but I can't remember the details. The point is that some of those things that were going to be put towards current residents, because it was going to help to facilitate growth also, was able to be taken out of the development charge reserve. So we didn't have to add that to your tax bill. So those are just numbers on a page that you won't ever see now. But those millions of dollars are big on in terms of the long-term finances. So those are the types of things that, even if people don't like development, and I understand why, and I understand the debate, and I understand all the arguments against it, I get it, whatever. I'm not saying whatever dismissive, I'm saying I get it. But what I'm saying is that's the incentive to develop, or not the incentive, the benefit to develop. There is no necessarily, whether there's an incentive that is perceived or not by Norfolk County is irrelevant, because we are obligated to develop when possible and appropriate as deemed by the province. So our role here now as council when it comes to development applications is, if we are going to be essentially over time, for lack of a better word, forced to allow them by the province and by the Ontario Land Tribunal and by the Ontario Land Tribunal Act and all these other things, how do we get the most benefit for the residents out of those situations that we can't stop? So it's not that we can't control them entirely. We can have some control on negotiating and providing benefit, but ultimately it is in the residents' best interests financially and in the long term, even if they don't like the development, to negotiate and try to make these things work to their advantage. So as unpopular as that may make us, we are actually trying to provide a benefit to residents even when we're doing things they don't like, if that makes sense. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but when council doesn't have the final say anymore, what can you do other than try to get the best deal you can for the residents that are here now?
Yeah. I'll backtrack a bit and say 2012, 13, 14, you could have built that whole complex for about 45 million.
Could have.
Sorry. I know you and I had big debates on that personally, but that still sticks in me, that never got done. But
yeah,
that's life. You move on. Like you said.
And I guess that's a way to tie it sort of to some of the things we've been talking about, is that when you look back and go, we could have, if this and if that and if council, whatever, or
Yep.
when you're talking about how things are broken and you say, okay, well, if council of the day or if staff of the day had made a stronger recommendation, or if council had listened or whatever, I mean, residents are never going to say it's a good time for a tax increase, right? People are always going to say times are tough, and people are always going to say, but things are especially hard now. People, and I get it. Times are always tough for the people that times are tough for. I get it. That said, sometimes as council, you have to say, look, we just have to take the beating for this. Not beating, but we have to take the criticism. We have to take the anger. We have to take the frustration. We have to take the threats.
It can't be about re-election. It's got to be the long-term goal.
We have to. My job is for you to be mad at me sometimes, if what I'm doing is beneficial in the bigger picture or the long term. And so had council 20, 30, 40, whatever years ago fixed the water or fixed the building or put the money aside, we wouldn't be getting as crushed today. And so what am I going to now make more decisions to not raise taxes properly or to not raise rates properly so that we crush people in 10 years or 20 years or 30 years even more? No, we got to get out of it. And that's where I'm at.
It's, and you and I can go down the road on so many different things because, well, we tend to, unfortunately. But I do want to say that I'm glad that you're not supporting the 4.5. Good for you. I appreciate that.
I didn't say that. What I said was, what I said was,
I know, I'm just trying to be a dick.
It's okay. You're not being a dick, but the bottom line there is it's what the businesses want. If the businesses see a benefit to their long-term economic development by collecting this money, I will support them. If they do not, then I will not support the project. It's that simple.
Yeah. So you like the logo idea then? We'll allow Norfolk County to put their logo in our windows. We'll only charge them $50 a month. And at the end of the year, if our business increases, we'll give you guys back half because it shows how important you guys are to the rest of us.
You know what? I'll tell you this, and you're not going to like this answer. If there is a business, if there's a business plan that showed me a projection that was reasonable that said if you do that, then we can contribute to economic development.
Well, we're just speculating. We're just spitballing here ideas. We're just throwing it out. We're like, it's the.
I understand you're being facetious to an extent here, but I think that argument probably does exist in the community. And what that argument does do is it does diminish the fact that we council, county, your tax dollars do pay for people who are not just spitballing. Like they've either done this in other communities and had success, or they've studied it, or they've learned about it at a convention or conference, and they're saying, will this benefit us, yes or no? So like staff, I just want to be clear that staff isn't just throwing a tennis ball against the wall going, you know what we should do? This would be cool. Do you think that'll work? No, like they put the work in, they present us a business case, it comes to us in a report at council, and they say, look,
I'm not arguing these folks don't know what they're doing. I'm just saying,
Well, they have an idea.
In my opinion,
Oh,
I would sit down with somebody like Andrew or Peter, somebody that's a long-term business person, before I even threw this idea out here, before I
yeah,
even wasted the paper. Like, that's my
right.
point. It's like,
So Peter,
go call somebody and say, hey, what do you think?
yeah, so Peter wouldn't be. Sorry, you're talking about Nectal. Peter Nectal, I'm assuming.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so the Nectals wouldn't be affected by this because they're not an accommodation.
Right. But
So
I would still value their opinion over the years, to be honest.
okay, fair enough. Sure. Well, but on the other hand, if you're an accommodation, I mean, sure, their opinion is, but if you're an accommodation, do you want someone who's not accommodation weighing in? I don't know that, but
No, but I mean, there's probably where it's more than one resource in that area that you want to talk to,
no,
because
and I'm not
they
saying
are
that they're not valuable.
affected. The people that come into town to stay overnight go eat their food. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, they shop there.
my,
They,
sorry, my point isn't that insight isn't available. My point is you can split these hairs any number of ways.
Sure.
Where you can say everyone who's got a lot of experience should weigh in. That's true. But on the other hand, everybody who's owned an accommodation for only 1 year, maybe they don't have the long-term experience, but they actually
Right.
own an accommodation. So we can split this into who's
Yeah,
the
you could.
consultation.
Yeah, you're right.
That's what I'm trying to get at here. So as much as the Nectals are valuable, of course they are, and I do hear from them mostly about the beach and other things that they're working on.
Right.
But at the same time, do you want accommodation that's uptown having an opinion on the beach? Maybe it affects them, but is it there? That's what I'm kind of getting at here, right? Is that you
Well,
have
the
to sort of
economic ties are all there. You know what I mean?
right, of course. So I mean, if you think I've not heard from Andrew Schneider and other accommodations owners on this, you're dreaming. Of course I have.
Yeah, no, I would
And
expect you to.
they've talked to the economic development guys directly over this and
Good.
expressed their skepticism as well. So again, I just want to be clear that this thing isn't happening in a vacuum and it's not being imposed
I know.
on anyone. It was economic development staff has this idea for potential solution on how to get more money into economic development without a tax increase. They kick it around. Based on the feedback they get, they've been open and said not everyone loves it. Some people want more information. Council, would you give us the time and the budget to make a fuller plan? And we said, sure, go do it.
All right. Well, maybe we'll get them on a podcast, one of those guys. And say,
who, economic development or Andrew?
Yeah, economic development, and say, hey.
I don't know if you're going to love that because they're still bureaucrats, right? And you're going to be just as
I'm just as
they're great guys.
I don't doubt they're great guys, and I probably would learn a lot.
It's mostly women, actually, so that's maybe why we're
or women. I would learn a lot. I'm sure of that.
No, they're great, but but they're always so I can say whatever I want as a counselor because at the end of the day,
I know they're tied to.
I can get an integrity commissioner complaint, but I can be free because I'm playing with my own whatever popularity in my own work and my no. You know,
do you want to reword that?
No. Like if I get in trouble, only I get in trouble. But
right.
But staff always has to be mindful of the things that they say and do
for sure
in a way that maybe I don't have to be. That's kind of all I was getting at.
All right. I better go before I piss you off anymore. I hate doing.
I'm not pissed off at all.
Sure.
Do I seem pissed off?
It's okay. Let it go, man. It's just your job. I understand it. It's not.
Well, that's. I mean, I appreciate that you recognize that.
They gave you a raise, right? They gave you a raise, right? You got a raise, I hope. Didn't you get a raise? I thought you guys got a bunch of raises.
I think there's a 1% cost of living.
Oh, 1%. But yet you want 4.5. Okay.
I don't want 4.5. Hey, wait till you get this one. Here's one you could be mad about later.
No, don't do this to me today.
No, I want to because I want to wind you up. So there is a report coming back that says that council and mayor should get an increase based on
the
relative.
What it was.
Yeah, and no, it hasn't happened yet. And my hope is that it doesn't happen until next term. We're not talking about, well, some people may argue we should get the raise for this year. I'm not going to support that. What I am going to support is, well, depending on what it is, the amount. But I do support there being more compensation for counselors for sure. Because to me, they sell this to residents as a part-time job.
That's the wrong part right there. I agree 100%.
And it is not.
It is a full-time
job. What I think we need to do as a community is say this is a full-time job.
Yep.
And it should be paid like a full-time job. Yep. So you have full-time people who are willing to commit to a full-time job running for office. It shouldn't be a part-time.
I agree 100%. Couldn't
half
I won't argue that
sort
at all
of
because
I do stay involved.
I think you and I talked about this 20 years ago when this should be a full-time. Like it is. It really is.
Even if I lose, I think the person that defeats me should have a full-time job, is what I'm saying.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. I don't think you'll lose. Sorry. you're stuck there for a while, I
You
think.
never know, man. Things change so
Nah,
quick, and
you're stuck there. Unfortunately, you
I
got integrity, and that kind of matters nowadays.
no, it does not.
It does to me, so keep it going.
All right.
All right, Sunshine, it's been fun. I can't wait till we catch up again. It's been too long, man. Been too long. We gotta do
That's
this
up to
soon.
you, man. I'll do this every week if you want. I don't care. Let's
No,
go.
that's overload. We don't want to do that to people. Then you won't get reelected. So you will run again for council. Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah, for sure. I really and I mean this in all seriousness. It sounds like such like a whatever, but being being the representative for Port Dover, even the good and like the good and the not so good, the ugly bits or whatever, and Ward 6 and being able to work with people, and even if I can't solve all their problems, but honestly, like this is um I don't even know how to describe. I don't know even the word. Honor is not really the word, but it's more of like it's really fulfilling, and it's such a I don't know what it is, because it's not always fun, as you can imagine. It's extremely stressful at times, but it's also like where I feel like I belong, if that makes sense. Like sometimes you're doing something and you feel like it just
Yeah,
fits.
yeah,
It's
I
like I
agree.
feel like I just fit right in there, and so being and working with the people that I get to work with, and both on staff and at the table, but mostly in the community is what I meant by that. Um, is such an interesting, fulfilling, rewarding, whatever you want to call it. It
Well,
means the world to me. It really does.
you never come across as everything, and you're always willing to learn. So I think
I
that's
don't know
part of it,
everything.
right? But I mean, you always will. If somebody asks you something you don't know, you'll go find out, and you'll try and figure out both sides of whatever the conversation is about. And I don't think enough people understand that. I think a lot of people just get elected to get elected, and they don't understand what that role is once they get into that
Oh,
job. So
no, I gotta tell you, if I'm gonna make a decision that affects people's lives, I really want to understand as much as I
yeah,
can about it. Not just from their, I mean, obviously their perspective and their opinion, that's one thing, but I gotta know the policy, and I gotta know the law, and I gotta know it. I have to know why they need to the information that I'm giving them, or why we can't do the things. I can't just say, "Oh, sorry, I tried and it didn't work." Like that's old, man. That's an old way of doing it, and that's bad news, man. I can't do it. I'm not gonna do it. And again, like I said to you earlier, I would rather know and tell you what it is, and be as honest and as direct as I am capable of being in that moment, than feel like I could have done more. Because even if I do lose next time, man, like, so here's the thing. I could hedge my bets and still lose. So what am I going to do? Not do my very best and not learn as much as I can and make the most of every day? No. If I'm going to get defeated, it's because I went down swinging and I did every single thing I could, and I can live with that decision. And I can honestly tell you, even though not everyone's like my decisions, I have not made a single decision yet that I did not believe was the right thing at the time, and I do not believe is still the right thing overall for the most number of people over the longest term right now. I still believe it, and
good.
because I do the work.
Yeah. And it's a lot of those complicated issues are just that they're complicated, and the average everyday guy doesn't understand them. And you have this ability to break it down and explain it and take those components apart so that when I read it, I'm like, oh, I understand that now. Right. And I think that's people just want to know. Right. But sometimes it's so complicated to understand how to get to that point of knowing what really is the fact.
Yeah. So hey, before you cut me off here, are we going to stick around for a second afterwards? Because I want to tell you one more funny thing about AMO, and it could be part of the podcast if you want it to be, but I do want to tell you the story either way. So it's up
All
to
right.
you.
Fire away. Quick.
Okay. All right. So Al, our CAO, is great. And like everywhere we go at AMO, people are stopping him to talk to him in the hallways. People that know him from the municipalities, people that have heard him speak or do it. Like I would say, like, in all seriousness, is very well respected among his colleagues. Like, people know him. He's a great guy. So when he says something, I listen to him and I hear what he has to say. And so he's saying, oh, you know what we got to do? We got to be, we got to be memorable. Just make your case. Don't worry. Relax. He's really good at being, at leading the admin sort of operation side of things. And my role is purely political and governance. And I don't get into operations. I'm not supposed to. So that's the context. So he says, oh, be memorable. Do these things. Talk about them. Just be honest. Okay, yeah, fine. So we're waiting to meet the Minister of Agriculture. Okay. And the deputy minister comes out, and you know him. It's John Kelly. Remember
Okay.
him
Yep.
from the Storm Cunningham stuff, and he was with Erie Innovations. Remember that guy?
Yep.
So, and he's a good guy. I don't really know him, but I've met with him and been in meetings. And of course, I was starting out then, And it was just the guy that was there from the Board of Trade or my business, or whoever invited me out. Even Trevally might have invited me. It doesn't matter how I was there, but I was there. And I said, "Oh, John, we've actually met before." He goes, "Oh yeah." He doesn't know. And that's okay. Honestly, I wouldn't remember me either. So I wasn't offended. And I said, "Oh, well, no, here's what it was." And I mentioned some of the people who were at those meetings. And he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah." And I mentioned the Storm Cunningham stuff. He's like, "Oh my God." He's like, "I haven't thought about that in years." I said, "Anyways, I was there." And he goes, "Oh, okay, well, good to see you, whatever, whatever." And I mentioned his former assistant. And he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah." And I said, "I talked to her a little bit ago because she used to work for Super Dave, like the Super Dave."
Yeah.
And so at a garage sale, I got the Super Dave DVD. And I put it on my Facebook there. I'm like, "Hey, I got this Super Dave DVD for 50 cents. What a great value. There's 10 episodes and whatever, blah, blah, blah." Not cool. So I'm telling him the story about the stupid Super Dave DVD. The minister, again, the deputy minister.
Yeah.
And outside this meeting, he's just like, "What is this?" Because I'm not shitting and I'm not
No,
pissing
you're
butt
just
and I'm not,
enjoying a
I'm just
moment,
talking about Super Dave and his assistant in Norfolk County and whatever.
making the connection.
And I can see the guy. There's every meeting has there's like a staff guy. I don't know what his role is out front. Take it, like, make sure you check in attendance. What he's there to help. And I look over at Al and he's looking at me like,
What are you doing?
Super Dave? Like, really, man? Anyways, and then I go to the guy. I'm like, "Hey, remember when Mr. T ate him?" And Kelly goes, "Actually, yeah, totally. Like, I do remember that." And so Al's all of a sudden going, "What is happening?" Like,
Yep.
and so that's just me, right? Like, I just talk about the stuff that I like and make
Yeah.
whatever. And he's like, "Okay, well, we'll see you in there." And Al's like, "Seriously, Super Dave?" And so we're walking up to the desk to like check back in again. And I said, "Hey, you said be memorable."
Yeah.
And he's going to remember Super Dave.
Yeah.
So the guy at the desk is kind of laughing or whatever. And I said, "Al, you should look at his face." I said, "It was like in Star Wars when he asks Ben Kenobi, it's like, 'Are you Obi-Wan Kenobi?' And Obi-Wan Kenobi goes, 'Obi-Wan Kenobi? I haven't heard that name in years,' or whatever he says, right? Remember that?" He goes, "Oh,
Yep.
yeah,
I do.
okay." So then I said that to Al. I said, "That was like that." And the guy starts laughing at the thing. He's like, "Honestly, man," he's like, "me and my friends quote that all the time. We say," and he busts off this Alec Guinness impersonation, like bang on. And he says it like he sounds just like Obi-Wan Kenobi's a name I haven't heard in years. And he's like, "That was Alec Guinness." I'm like, "I know who it was, man." So now I got this parliamentary assistant or whatever he is,
He's like, yeah, loves you.
shooting this shit about Star Wars based on my Mr. T comment about Super Dave. And Al's just like, "Who are you?"
Like, what the hell is? But that's
Right. And then so I
kudos,
walk
man.
in.
Yeah.
So I walk in and it's all business then. Like, I'm not goofing around in the meeting.
No.
It was very serious. And it was good. It was really productive. And the Minister of Agriculture was great. We do the nice photo, whatever. We walk back out. And the guy says, I can't remember what he says. The PA says something like, or like, "See you later, Obi-Wan," or "There goes Obi," whatever he says. And as I'm walking around the corner, I go, "We are not the delegates you're looking for," and do the Jedi mind trick. And you can hear him laughing around the corner. It's like, there, bam, they're going to remember Obi-Wan Kenobi, Super Dave, Mr. T. And that's it. And that was the thing I did.
But I mean, that's so valuable because it's back to what we talked about earlier in this podcast about making that connection to people and understanding where they are, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's
I
critical.
talked to somebody else about how AI, man, creeps you out because that's how you get Terminators. And they're like, "That is how you get Terminators." Oh, no.
It's
like,
the whole story laid out
Al's
for
like,
us.
"What is wrong with you?" I'm like, honestly, I live by myself. I just watch movies and TV shows from the 80s and 70s all day. So if somebody wants to talk about Terminator and Super Dave, I'm your guy.
Yeah, Comic-Con, right? You're
Let's
there.
go.
But I mean,
Star
I
Trek,
think that,
let's go.
but you found the common ground and I don't want to say exploited it, but you made that part of the conversation. So he will, that's built in now. Like, he'll go to that when he sees you. You know what I mean?
I'm willing to bet, and I'm pretty confident, that no one else talked to the Deputy Minister of Agriculture
Exactly.
about the time Mr. T ate Super Dave.
Right. Exactly.
That's it. And so maybe next convention I'll see him again and be like, "Hey, Super Dave." I don't know.
You'll just, I mean, something will spring from it that down the road may help Norfolk because of your odd sense of humor. Let's just say that.